My name is Jon Stewart. Now, where was I? These two candidates, they are both similarly challenged. And it is not crazy to think that the oldest people in the history of the country to ever run for president might have some of these challenges. Now, Democrats will say that any criticism like this, especially of Biden, is unfair because you just don't know Biden like they know Biden.
President Biden, who I've been around numerous times just in this last year, is sharp, he's focused, he's bright.
He is sharp, intensely probing, and detail-oriented and focused.
This is a man who is sharp, who is on top of his game, who knows what's going on.
He's smart. He's on his game.
I was in almost every meeting with the president, and the president was in front of and on top of it all, coordinating and directing leaders who are in charge of America's national security, not to mention our allies around the globe.
Did anyone film that? Because if you're telling us behind the scenes he is sharp and full of energy and on top of it and really in control and leading, you should film that. That would be good to show to people instead of a TikTok where he goes, cookie. We see he's in charge. You see, I like cookies. Of course, when it comes to Republicans, they've got a different strategy for their 77-year-old candidate.
Well, first of all, Donald Trump is not an old man.
He's an old man. He is objectively an old man on a human scale. Trump is objectively old. If he was a tortoise, I would tell him as a tortoise at 77, oh, young man, go off and enjoy college. But he's not a tourist. He's not a tortoise. That is not being ageist. That is being human lifespanist. One thing we know for certain is this. We have two candidates who are chronologically outside the norm of anyone who has run for the presidency in this country, in the history of this country. They are the oldest people ever to run for president, breaking by only 4 years the record that they set. The last time they ran, they are at the age. They are objectively old. They're at the age. There are no more age-related milestones to hit. They got the AARP card. They've got Social Security. They've got their movie discounts. There is no, oh, wait till you hit 88, you get to drink and drive. No! The only thing left to them is a Today Show Smuckers shout-out. You know what? I think we've got a new name for our election coverage. Indecision 2024 Antiques Roadshow. All right. Look. Here's what I'm going to tell you. We're not suggesting neither man is vibrant, productive, or even capable. But they're both stretching the limits of being able to handle the toughest job in the world. What's crazy is thinking that we're the ones, as voters, who must silence concerns and criticisms. It is the candidate's job to assuage concerns, not the voter's job not to mention them. And look, I'm not trying to be cruel. I didn't want to have to do this on my first date. Come over here. Look at me. Look what time hath wrought. Give the kids a treat of the lunar surface here. Look at this. I'm like 20 years younger than these. This. Look at this. They wish. By the way, if you don't, here's the truth. And if you think like, oh, 20 years isn't that long, this is me 20 years ago. Yeah. I agree. And perhaps it was my mistake for sleeping in a meat dehydrator. Look, Joe Biden isn't Donald Trump. He hasn't been indicted as many times, hasn't had as many fraudulent businesses, or been convicted in a civil trial for sexual assault, or been ordered to pay defamation and had his charities disbanded, or stiffed a shit ton of blue-collar tradesmen he'd hired. Should we even get to the grab the pussy stuff? Probably not. But the stakes of this election don't make Donald Trump's opponent less subject to scrutiny. It actually makes him more subject to scrutiny. If the barbarians are at the gate, you want Conan standing on the ramparts, not chocolate chip cookie guy. So what's the good news? That was not rhetorical framing. I'm literally asking you. Look, the next 9 months or so, and maybe more than that depending on the coup schedule, they're gonna suck. You're gonna be getting emails with insane subject lines like, "Hello, John, it's Chuck Schumer. Donald Trump is right behind you with a knife. Donate." You're going to get inundated with robocalls and push polls and real polls, and people are going to tell you to rock the vote and be the vote and vote the vote and finger bang the vote. And it's all going to make you feel like Tuesday, November 5th is the only day that matters. And that day does matter. But man, November 6th ain't nothing to sneeze at, or November 7th. If your guy loses, bad things might happen. But the country is not over. And if your guy wins, the country is in no way saved. I've learned one thing over these last 9 years, and I was glib at best and probably dismissive at worst about this. The work of making this world resemble one that you would prefer to live in is a lunch pail job, day in and day out, where thousands of committed, anonymous, smart, and dedicated people bang on closed doors and pick up those that are fallen and grind away on issues till they get a positive result. And even then have to stay on to make sure that result holds. So the good news is, I'm not saying you don't have to worry about who wins the election. I'm saying you have to worry about every day before it and every day after. Forever. Although, on the plus side, I am told that at some point, the sun will run out of hydrogen.
Now, for once, the big news in the GOP primary is not about Donald Trump. It's about Nikki Haley and what Donald Trump said about her.
Former President Trump taking heat for questioning why Nikki Haley's husband has not been with her on the campaign trail.
Where's her husband? Oh, he's away. He's away. What happened to her husband? What happened to her husband? Where is he? He's gone.
Your husband, Michael, is a major with the South Carolina Army National Guard, currently deployed in the Horn of Africa.
It's disgusting. And let's take it and move me and Michael out of it. If you're going to go and criticize a combat veteran, you criticize one veteran, you're criticizing all of them.
Wow. Now, that is the spine of a leader. Someone who will stand up for our troops when Donald Trump attacks them. I mean, not John McCain or the Gold Star family. She worked for Trump after that. But if you go after a troop that Nikki Haley is married to, that is where she draws a very specific line. Now, Haley's obviously been hitting this very hard. And honestly, I don't blame her for milking this. The only time the media gives her attention is when Donald Trump is roasting her. In fact, if I were Nikki Haley, I'd text Trump like, "Hey, Donnie, check out this pic of my son's weird overbite. Send." But this whole thing might be a misunderstanding. And I don't want to be a Trump defender. One, because he never pays his defense bills. But I honestly don't think he was trying to insult her husband's service. He was just trying to maliciously insinuate that their marriage is collapsing. So, Nikki, I think you owe him an apology. if you are going to engage, Nikki, don't just do this "how dare you, have you no decency" thing, because he doesn't. We've seen this. You can't take the high road with Donald Trump. That off-ramp has been closed since 2016. If he goes after your missing husband, you go after his missing wife. Yes. Take the gloves off. Take them off. Something like, "I'm not surprised you can't keep track of one spouse, Donald, since two already left you." Boom. Donald, why is it easier to spot a classified document at Mar-a-Lago than the mother of your children? Boom. Turns out the only way your wife would spend time with you is if you golfed on the hole where you buried her. So, just spitballing here, guys. For months, Congress has been unable to take concrete steps to find a real solution. But yesterday, House Republicans stood up, joined hands, and said, "Let's pull a cheap stunt instead."
For the first time in almost 150 years, a cabinet secretary has been impeached. House lawmakers impeached Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas yesterday by an extremely thin margin of 214 to 213.
They think Secretary Mayorkas has not done a good job, but they don't really have a case that he has committed what we are supposed to be looking for, which is high crimes and misdemeanors.
Well, it sends a message that we're not just going to sit by while the Secretary of Homeland Security fails to do his job at keeping our homeland safe.
Really? House Republicans? Really? That's grounds for impeachment now? Doing a bad job? That's the standard you guys want to set, because you're not exactly crushing it right now. You can't pass legislation. You can't settle on a speaker. The most you guys have gotten done is one Beetlejuice hand job. And even that wasn't to completion. I mean, come on, I could have knocked out two before the curtain rises, you know? But fine. They impeached Alejandro Mayorkas. I guess House Republicans think they can solve the border crisis by removing one Latino at a time. So, congratulations to House Speaker Mike Johnson for finally getting something passed. Although, you know who's going to be pretty upset about that? Mike Johnson from 4 years ago.
The founding fathers, the founders of this country, warned against single-party impeachments. They said that it would be bitterly divisive, perhaps irreparably divisive for the country.
I definitely won't regret that in a few years. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm off to French kiss a bat at the Wuhan wet market. But let's move on to more consequential congressional news. Yesterday, Long Island voters had a special election to replace this guy, George Santos. Yeah, of course. Sure. Famous for getting expelled, dressing like a ventriloquist dummy, and running away from all of America's finest journalists. Run away from me all you want, George. You'll have to talk to me when I pay for that cameo. Those are the rules. It's in the contract. Read the fine print, George. I'm coming for you. But the race to replace Santos wasn't just a local issue. It had national implications because both parties were looking to see what the result would tell them about November. So let's break down this race. In one corner, we had Tom Suozzi, and in the other corner, we had Mazi Pilip. Suozzi versus Mazi. Even Dr. Seuss was like, you know, that's a little much. Now, looking at their pictures, you can probably guess which candidate is in which party. But you'd be wrong. And you need to do better. If this race has national implications, then understanding what issues resonated with voters is crucial. And in Long Island, one issue stood out.
Both candidates made the case that they are tougher on immigration.
I'll work across the aisle to do what our leaders haven't, secure our border.
At the same time, the two attacked each other on the issue.
Guys, relax. There's plenty of migrants to demonize for the both of you. Okay, so both Suozzi and Mazi made immigration a big part of their platform. But just as revealing as what they were running on was who they were running away from. Mazi refused to ask Trump for his endorsement, and Suozzi politely asked President Biden to stay the away.
Would you want to campaign with Biden? I could pretty much guarantee that the president's not going to be coming to campaign here. But this is a huge seat. I mean, don't you think the president, could be helpful and if he came out here? I don't think it would be helpful, just as I don't think Donald Trump would be helpful to my opponent. And this race is really very local.
He's declining the president's offer like how you decline your dad's offer to babysit. So sweet of you, Pops, but we don't want to put you out, and Billy really doesn't want to play with your keys for 3 hours. He's 15. Of course, Suozzi is right. A Biden visit would not be helpful, especially to Biden. You don't want Joe having to learn any new names right now. His brain is in a sort of one in, one out situation. Tom Suozzi, nice to meet you. Oh no. So that was the candidates and the issues they ran on. And last night we found out who had the winning strategy.
Democrat Tom Suozzi easily winning a special election in New York's 3rd congressional district, defeating Mazi Pilip by 8 points.
Thank God. Let me just enjoy this for one more minute, okay?
Yes. Let me enjoy this. Tomorrow I start the world's worst job. Yes. Tom Suozzi won the race handily. And now the question is, what does it mean for November? Of course, Donald Trump has his own opinion.
Former President Donald Trump blamed Pilip's loss on her lack of loyalty to him.
MAGA, which is most of the Republican Party, stayed home, and it will always, unless it is treated with the respect that it deserves. I stayed out of the race. I want to be loved, in quotes. I'm not sure what that "I want to be loved" in quotes is.
You don't know? You don't know what a bitter old man alone in his room tweeting into the abyss, "I want to be loved," the night before Valentine's Day means? Haven't you seen a person make a Freudian slip with his thumbs before? And as for Democrats, they were gifted a blueprint for 2024. Joe Biden, heads up, the path is clear. You can win re-election in 3 easy steps. 1, get out there with a strong message. 2, tackle immigration head on. And 3, don't campaign with Joe Biden. Now, as we all know, the Super Bowl was on Sunday. The Kansas City Chiefs won. Taylor, there you are. 3 Kansas City Chiefs fans here. Taylor Swift somehow got box seats. Usher's abs were on the outside of his shirt for some reason. It was great. Then yesterday, they had a celebratory parade in Kansas City that tragically ended in gunfire. Now, there's still a lot we don't know about the situation. The good news is we do know one of the heroes that helped stop the shooting. Now, it wasn't Missouri's lax gun laws. It wasn't a good guy with a gun. It wasn't anybody bearing arms. It was just a guy with arms.
Take a look at this video. It shows the moment that one of them was tackled by a couple of fans who were in the right place at the right time.
One guy was hollering, saying, stop him or catch him. And as I'm tackling him, I see his weapon.
Bravo to this guy. Bravo. Bravo. Yes. Frankly, not just for stopping the shooter, but for executing a flawless tackle in front of the Super Bowl champions. I mean, Travis Kelce is right there, and you're like, watch this form. Look, maybe you think we don't need gun control. But don't pretend there's any level of security that will prevent something like this from happening. There were more than 800 police officers there, and all they could do was react after it happened. Let me put this in football terms. America needs a defensive strategy that will stop a guy from getting the ball in the first place. Not just hope someone tackles him before he gets to the end zone. That's not a winning strategy, unless you're playing the Jets. Also, we need to limit the size of the ball. That ball is a weapon of war. The founders didn't anticipate the ball would be this big. I'm in too deep with this metaphor. I hear it now. You get the idea. I'll tell you what's infuriating, though, is that we're not going to get to have an honest conversation about America's gun problem. Instead, we'll be having a conversation about America's parade problem. Should they have more security? Should they be smaller? Should they replace the confetti with Kevlar? Should the parade just be an email? It's not fun, but those are all the ideas we're allowed to have. Also, one thing I noticed about the media coverage around this is everyone saying today was supposed to be a celebration, or the day started out filled with joy. Shouldn't every day be able to end without a mass shooting? Is our bar really that low? Like, even my shittiest day, my wife leaves me, the IRS audits me, I go to see Madam Web. I mean, a shitty day. Even that day deserves to end without a shooting. Maybe I'm just a selfish optimist. You know what? Like the rest of the country, let's quickly move on from gun violence and talk about something else. As you know, Donald Trump is on trial in every jurisdiction in America. One of the most important trials is down in Georgia, where he's accused of trying to overturn the election. And because this case is so important, it's crucial that the prosecution does everything above board and by the books, AKA not this.
After weeks of mounting questions, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis acknowledging a romantic relationship with a special prosecutor she hired to lead her case against Donald Trump. Trump and his two co-defendants claim Willis benefited from the money her office paid Wade, saying he had taken her on lavish vacations.
DA Willis could be disqualified from the case. So could her whole office, potentially. This could really bring the investigation back to square one.
Are you kidding me? Seriously? Trump might get off because these two were getting off. The case might be derailed because these two were getting railed. Are we because they I can't believe a legal team's sexual appetite might destroy this case. Now I finally understand why Trump hired Rudy Giuliani as his lawyer. No one's risking their case to see what he's packing. One of the accusations against Fani Willis is that after she hired her boyfriend, he kicked back money to her by taking her on lavish vacations. And today they questioned Nathan Wade about those vacations, and the answers didn't exactly roll off his tongue.
Did you go to a cabin with Miss Willis ever?
Ever?
Ever.
No.
I don't care what you're answering. Anytime you pause that long, it's suspicious. Also, who books so many cabins they can't keep track of them? You're either Davy Crockett or a serial killer. So after today, things are not looking good for Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade. But he does have an option here. He sexed his way into this mess. He just might have to sex his way out. If his loving is so good that a prosecutor is willing to break the rules for it, then he's got to sex everybody into breaking the rules for him. Sex the judge, sex the jury, sex the bailiff. If the clerk wants some sex, sex the clerk. If Manu Raju is outside the courtroom, sex the Raju. And if it comes down to it, he's going to have to sex Donald Trump. If he's that good, it ought to do the trick. Trump will walk out of that courtroom like, the case is rigged, but the D is fire. As for Fani Willis, when she took the stand today, she denied any wrongdoing and also tried to bring some perspective to the day.
You're confused. You think I'm on trial. These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020. I'm not on trial, no matter how hard you try to put me on trial.
Yes, thank you. Donald Trump is the one on trial, which is why you should have been more careful.